I want to talk about a series of knives that I just bought my wife for our 30th anniversary. We had some Henckels knives, and I wasn't too happy with the steel on those and how they performed after a long time. And I was learning more about steels and collecting knives, and I learned to appreciate other steels than the stuff that came on the Henckels knives. These were Henckels Professional S, supposed to be, one of their higher end series of knives, and really they just didn't hold an edge real well. I would sharpen them, and then when I start cutting something very quickly, I would be having to try to resharpen them in the middle of things. Maybe chefs are used to that, but laymen aren't. So I wanted something that would be a better edge geometry as far as a cutting geometry, and then also a better steel that might hold its edge better and also take a keener edge. So I started looking into chef's knives, and people spend outrageous amounts of money on chef's knives. And the search I started with, because I carry a lot of knives that are made out of Japanese VG-10 steel that I like, I did a search for VG-10 kitchen knives, and I started looking at those and found quite a few of them. And then I found what seems to be a deal on kitchen knives, relatively speaking, and that's these Tojiro knives. So these, this series of knife is called Tojiro DP, and it's made out of VG-10. And I've got another one that's not here yet, and these are used knives. We've been using this, so I got them maybe, I don't know, it was 2 or 3 weeks ago. So this is a 9.5-inch chef's knife. It's a little longer chef knife. This is a 6-inch utility knife, and this is a little 4.5-inch parer. They got different knives, different names for these things, excuse me. Japanese names. I think they call this a petty. I don't remember what they call this one. And this is a gyuto. They've got handles that are like European, French, and French-handled knives. The handles are kind of beefy handles, so they're kind of thick, and some people have said some things about that. They thought they were, I guess, not elegant enough because they're a little on the thick side, but excuse me, they feel good to me, and my wife hadn't complained about them. These things come with an absolutely razor edge out of the box, and the blades are nice and thin on them, and they just cut like crazy. They are just wicked sharp out of the box. And even after my wife has been banging her chopping block, we're working on her cutting techniques to try to preserve the knife edges there. Because since she doesn't sharpen knives, she doesn't. I think if you sharpen them, you kind of start appreciating things you can do to not bang the edges up. One of them is don't go like this on a chopping block. But so we're working on different motions. So the front of this one needs to be sharpened, but the back of it is still pretty sharp. And the paring knife is, which she hasn't used much at all yet, a little bit, but it is still like an absolute razor. These are the sharpest knives I've ever had out of the box, and I'm sure there's sharper knives out there out of the box, Japanese knives, but these are pretty good. They're relatively inexpensive for Japanese chef's knives. But I found that the best place, as usual, to buy this kind of stuff is on Amazon. You can get deals on the cutlery knife websites like Knives to Go and places like that, Cutlery and more. They're okay deals, and some knives you may look around, you may find a sale where you get one better than that. But I looked, and the best deals on these were on Amazon, of course, and they had got some starter sets on there. I think these two came in a starter set. And they got 2 starter sets. They got a starter set, and then they got a professional starter set. And the difference is the professional, actually it comes with these 2 knives now that I think about it. It comes with the parer and this one, I think. The professional starter set had an inch longer. Instead of an 8.5, it has a 9.5-inch chef's knife. And I would say that if you're going to get one of these, and if you got a decent sized cutting board, get the bigger one, don't get the 8.5. It didn't cost much more money. And there was a great deal on them buying them in the starter set. Really nice knives. These are also the only thing I would say that I would say is probably unnecessary is if you look at that line on there. These are clad knives, so they're a sandwiched knife. So it's a VG-10, and I think I don't know what the other steel is. I think it's probably 420 that's on the outside. So it's a softer stainless. And then you can see this line here, which is where the VG-10 is sticking out, and then the other side is another. You can see the line right there. They're usually not that. They're usually not even. So you can look on this blade here. Come on, focus. You can see that, I almost cut myself, that little line there that's maybe 1/4 of an inch up off the blade edge. And then you can see it's a little lower on here. There it is right there, a little white line that traces parallel to the edge. It's about, almost 3/8 of an inch back on this blade, a little closer on this side. That's the center layer of steel sticking out. That's the VG-10 layer. So if when this thing if it discolors along the edge, a lot of them sometimes they will, is you'll see 3 layers along the edge of this knife as it ages, where the different steels will take on a slightly different color, and then you'll notice it. I doubt, since they're both stainless, there'll be much of that on here. If you had something like super blue or something on this bottom layer, it would definitely. I've got some of those knives like that, and you've got basically a stripe across the edge where you've got the super blue that's discolored and sticking out. So that's the only thing I think that was unnecessary. They could have made the whole knife out of VG-10. I don't think it would have been a big deal. But the idea is to put softer steel on the outside and put a more brittle steel that takes a better edge on the inside, and so you got the softness, which kind of keeps the knife from breaking as much. It makes it flexible, and then you've got the edge, which is a very hard steel, which can really take a keen edge, but maybe is more susceptible to breakage and chippage. So, but other than that, these knives are a great deal. Look them up if you're in the market for good, high quality, very sharp knives that have really nice angles on the edge, and you're willing to not beat on them a lot so you can take care of them and not chip them up. These are really good knives that we've been using them for 3 or 4 weeks now, and we're very happy with them. So, so I would say jump on these if you're in the market for chef's knives at a reasonable price. And really, these knives on this set, even buying a new block and everything, is cheaper than buying Wusthoffs and Henckels, and those things are really poor performing knives. So if you look at anybody that's doing tests on those knives, they're always at the very bottom of the test. So, and these knives are usually rated pretty well in the test. They may not be at the top, but they'll be 2nd or 3rd tier down, and they'll be hanging out with company that each one of the blades is $200 or $300 or $400 a blade. So, and these things are much more reasonable than that. So I think I paid $100 and I got 2 of these knives, either these 2 or I think it might have been those 2. Is it 2 of these knives? And so they're just a really great deal on knives. And Amazon's the best place to buy them at for the most part. Thanks a lot. I'm just going to tack this on here at the end. These are the boxes that Tojiros come in. If you're into boxes, they come wrapped up pretty nice with some information in them. So, so they come nicely done. I can tell you, I just bought in another video I did some shun knives, and this is how they came. So, just a little slit with blade sleeves on them. So they come nicely boxed. With nice wrappers around them, and some information about the knives and steel and whatnot. So, so thanks for watching.